podcast, which is crazy. Like, can't believe we've already done this many episodes, and you've recorded or you've listened to like 50 hours of your life that you can never have back, and we're about to add 30 more minutes into that cycle for you. Today we have two of us on the podcast who have not recorded together yet, like with just us. So we've got me, Alex, and we have
me, Natalia.
I had to. There's a drum effect now on our recording software, and I think that's the only time I'm gonna do it. But
Alex has been having a lot of fun playing with the drum effects, so that has not been the only time he's played with it, to be clear.
yeah, I have to admit, I think we spent like 10 minutes preparing, and about 9 minutes of that was me just hitting the sound effects.
Oh yeah.
Can I do one more?
Yeah.
Okay, so how about this? Did you do anything exciting this week?
Oh,
Yeah,
yes, I did. I went to the.
Sorry. Okay. It's the dramatic piano one. I had to wait until you started talking.
I didn't know whether the intro was coming before I spoke or after. But anyways, I saw The Weeknd last week. I didn't see him over the weekend, which is confusing, I know. But it was actually really fun. It was like probably the most like theatrical show I've ever seen. I mean, I haven't been to that many concerts, but this one had like pyrotechnics and this really cool set. It was like every city he went to, the set was designed to kind of look like the city he was in, but like kind of like ruins of it almost.
Wait, so he catered to every city he played?
Yeah, so
Wow.
I live in Seattle, and so my show had like the Space Needle. It was really cool.
Wait, that's amazing. I mean, I know The Weeknd obviously has like enough money to like do this type of production, but I can't imagine like how much behind the scenes goes into building a prop for each one. So what was Wisconsin? Just like a giant block of cheese?
I mean, what else would it be? What else does Wisconsin have to offer?
Uh, Drinking problems, alcoholism. I don't know. That one you can't really showcase.
Raisin ravioli, maybe?
Yeah, some every variation of cheese. Well, that sounds really cool. Do you did he have like any big openers, or was it like just a solo show with him?
Honestly, this is bad that I'm admitting this. I didn't even go to see the openers.
Oh, that's actually okay. I feel like I was just about to say, and that's a Gen Z move, but I skip openers all the time, so I think that's just a. I don't want to
Yeah,
go 5 hours early.
I wouldn't normally do that, but he had two openers and they were both people that I personally had never heard of either of them, and they both had like pretty long sets, and I just like you said, I didn't feel like getting there like 4 hours early to see these people that I don't even care about.
Isn't that such a problem with openers though? It's like I feel like if I was an opening band, I would want to only play for like 20 minutes because it's like if your set's amazing, you're going to like blow everyone's minds. But if you're like really annoying, then it's like an hour long set, everyone's going to hate you and like never want to listen to your music.
Yeah, that's true. Because if you're good, you can just keep it short and sweet and leave them wanting more.
Yeah, but it's like nobody seems to understand that. It's they're like, well, we're getting paid to play, so we're gonna like fill this time slot, and I'm like, but nobody knows you. No offense, dudes and dudettes, they don't want to they don't want to hear you perform right now because they're here for the
Yeah,
weekend.
yeah.
Did
In the
he play?
weekends,
Sorry, what?
I was gonna say in the weekend's defense, he had a third opener, but the way he had it set up was just like so he had these three openers and all the shows would just kind of be a random combination of two people. And so the one opener who wasn't at the Seattle show was an artist that I actually knew and like liked some of their songs, but unfortunately they were not at my show.
That's kind of a bummer. It's like, come on. It's always, it's always. I feel like that always happens. Like the bands that are on like half the tour happen to like that you want to see happen to not be at the show you're like attending.
I know. Always ends up being unlucky.
Are you like a huge Weekend fan, or like what like what was like the big reason for you going?
Well, I have been listening to him for maybe like 5 years. And I've only recently actually gone back and like listened to his albums from before I was a fan. And so there were a lot of songs, not a lot, but there were a fair amount of songs that he performed that I didn't know. But, it was still like you can still, you know, dance and jam along even if you don't know songs. So it was still really fun.
Yeah, I think that's what's really cool with his music. Like it makes me think of like his Super Bowl performance. I was just
Yeah,
like, I usually get sick of Super Bowl shows, but I thought his was really cool, like with all the masks and stuff. And um, I think his music's just catchy, and I feel like he hits somehow like every genre. You know, like he's got
yeah,
like the '80s kind of like pop songs. He's got like the really like indie R&B, if that's even a genre. I don't know if I just made that up or not, but he hits it all. And then he's got like his emo kind of like what melancholy like label to everything.
definitely. Yeah, it's
Did
almost like
did you
he's
know the beauty behind the madness then? Like, is that like the album you started at, or did you get into him
that
after
was
that?
the one. I mean, I think that was when like the weekend started getting a lot of radio play.
Mhm.
And so I heard like all the singles from that album on the radio, and I think that was how I must have got put onto him. And then from there, I like actually started keeping up with his new releases.
Yeah, it's I think Beauty Behind the Madness. I hate to admit it, but that was even like the first album I heard. I was in college when that came out, but that was like that album was like you could not escape it. It was
No.
on like every radio station. Um, Actually, with my first job in college, I had an internship with Universal Music Group, and they had me like do a promo for the album cover, and like they were. This was like just when the record came out, and like I don't think a lot of people really knew him before this album outside of like diehard fans.
Uh-huh.
And they had my coworker. She literally did an entire chalk mural of him like near this like really famous bridge in Minneapolis, and we like
Wow.
were for some reason supposed to take like photos of people walking by it, which is kind of like lame, but the
What was
mural
the
looked
point
awesome.
supposed to be?
What was the point?
Yeah. I
I
mean, I
think
didn't mean to ask it like that, but like of the what was the significance of like the people walking by?
I think they just wanted proof that people were like that we like showed it in like a highly populated area because they probably thought we were going to be
Oh,
lazy and
that's
like
so funny. I thought it was like part of like the actual art itself.
no. It definitely was just to like prove that we like did our job, but the mural was really cool. I like am not talented in that kind of stuff, and like she like outlined his hair and everything, and got like the
Wow.
exact colors of one of the single arts, I think. If I find it one of these days, I'll maybe post it on our Instagram or something.
That sounds so cool. I'd love to see it.
Yeah, it was really cool, but I would love to see him one day if I could. It's like one of the big like pop artists that I've like never really had the chance to like see live, and I feel like knowing like how he caters to all his set pieces, it just sounds like a really really cool show.
I know. Another person that I've really been wanting to see live, who I am a diehard fan of, is Taylor Swift. I've been a fan of
Yes.
hers for like over a decade since I was a little kid, and I have never seen her. And so I really want to go to her next tour, which hopefully will be next year because she just announced that she's releasing a new album. And this is like so exciting because no one knows what's it going to be. Because her last two projects she's released have been re recordings of old albums. And then the two releases before that were her surprise folk albums. So this album could really be anything.
Which I That's one thing I kind of like with Taylor Swift. I've actually never been like the biggest fan of her music, but I do actually enjoy her folk records, and I do like that she does tend to kind of surprise people with her sound. Um, you like never know, is she gonna do like a sad girl fall record, or is she gonna do like a sassy I'm the Queen pop album?
She's
I don't
kind of
know.
done all at this point.
She's got it all, but I think with this record, which is going to be called Midnights, releases October 21st. I have kind of an interesting prediction. I think because she already did the folk phase, but she's releasing this in fall, and judging from the cover, which if you look at the font and like the way that the track listing's posted and like her eyeliner and like the way that the picture, it's like her like flicking like it looks like a zip lighter. I
Hmm.
think this is going to have some emo elements. This looks very, very 90s emo to me, like Sunny Day Real Estate and
Oh,
like these types of bands. I don't think it's going to be like a direct emo album, but I feel like she's going to have emo influences, which doesn't sound like Taylor Swift at all, but that's my prediction I'm going with based off of the cover.
that's interesting. I did not expect that. I think it could be pop, but I feel like that would be like very expected and she wouldn't make it that obvious. And so my theory is that it is going to be something indie, but not folk like the last two albums. It'll be
Hmm.
something more like, I don't know, because I thought the cover was giving kind of like Tumblr vibes. And
Oh,
like she's
I didn't
trying to
even
do
see
like
that.
aesthetic. Um, and so maybe she'll try to, I don't know, do something from like the early 2010s, but not what she was doing during that time. I think she might like go back to like the indie music of the 2010s, maybe, even though I know that's a very broad thing I'm describing.
I think I could see emo or sorry, indie. I clearly have emo still in my mind. Um, I didn't even think from that end, but I'm just like now I'm curious if it's like indie. Like, do you think she would stick with like how do you say his name? Jack Antonoff? Do you think she didn't she have him produce one of her records, or am I
I think she's
incorrect
definitely
there?
going to stick with Jack because she worked with Jack on her album 1989.
Hmm.
And like, I think we all know how huge that was. And like, she's worked with him on her all her subsequent albums that have been like different genres. And so I think like they've really shown they are a powerhouse duo no matter what music they're making. So I think she'll definitely keep him around. But as for the other collaborators from Folklore and Evermore, like the Dustners, I don't know if she will work with them again for this one.
I feel like that was more like a friends hanging out kind of thing. Um, I
Yeah.
call that her. I really want to go to Wisconsin and hang out with Bon Iver right now. So I'm just gonna make an album to like have it happen. Because didn't she join? Didn't she join or like collab on one of their records too between Justin Vernon and Aaron Dresner? It was like Big Machine something, or it's
Oh,
something
yeah.
Machine. What is the
Yeah.
band name?
It's, I think, Big
Red
Red
Machine.
Machine.
It's something like that. But she did a song with them, and I think that was before.
Yeah, it was called Renegade.
Yeah,
Or
so like
maybe I think she may have had another song. There may have
it
been
was big,
two.
big Red Machine. That's what it is. It's a horrible, it's a horrible band name. Clearly, you and I could not land that.
Well, it's really
Um,
confusing as a Taylor Swift fan because she has all this drama with her label, and her old label was called Big Machine. And then she has an album called Red, and then this band is called Big Red Machine, and it's just like so confusing.
maybe there's like a little tie-in to that. Um,
It's all part
I
of the
doubt it.
Taylor Swift cinematic universe.
Yeah, she's gonna release like one of these days like a huge movie, but it's gonna be like a yeah, it's gonna be like her Marvel universe with every era of Taylor Swift with like all of her different costumes and stuff.
And finally revealing all her Easter eggs.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of drama and a lot of costumes. Speaking of drama and crazy costumes and other things, was there anything crazy that happened this week? Just out of
Oh
curiosity.
boy. Anything crazy, you ask? So, we've been hearing about the upcoming movie, Don't Worry, Darling. It's Olivia Wilde's actually second movie that she's directing, and it's going to be starring um, Florence Pugh and Harry Styles and Olivia herself. But before Harry was actually cast replacing Shia LaBeouf. And articles were coming out kind of insinuating that Shia was fired, maybe because he was like causing problems on set. And Olivia has released a new Variety article where she said that she had a quote unquote no assholes policy on set. And so, you know, take from that what you will. But basically, the real reason that he says he had to leave the film was because of scheduling conflicts and also conflicts with the rest of the cast, mainly Florence. And so he quits the movie, and Olivia begs him to come back. And she even records a video of herself begging him to come back.
And she's
And
like teary eyed in this.
yeah, she seems desperate. But after Olivia comes out with this Variety article, Shai is clearly not happy, and he releases this video to the press, and you can actually find it yourself online. It's pretty short, but people definitely felt like Olivia was not the most respectful in the video. Firstly, she refers to Florence as Miss Flo, which I just think is like a little demeaning, especially since it's not like it doesn't seem like she's using it as like an endearing nickname that has Florence is okay, especially
Yeah,
since she's
especially because
talking
she's so
about her.
well. Also, she's like what the most like maybe the most popular like actress right now, or like one
Yeah,
of them. Like she's, I mean, it's like the list is like infinite of everything she's in, but it's just like her her acting in what like Midsummer alone. I feel like it's like enough to
yeah,
like create
she's
her
really
career.
impressing people.
Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, that's definitely an interesting thing. Unless like she specifically asked to go by Miss, because like I don't know the age gap, but they seem to be around the same age as well. So that's even more bizarre. Like I could never imagine calling like a guy like a year younger than me like Mister or a year older. You know?
Yeah, it just seems a little patronizing. And then people are also unhappy because Shia has like very serious abuse allegations from ex-girlfriends, including one of his famous ex-girlfriends, FK Twigs, the English singer.
Is it sad that I
Um,
like forget they dated sometimes?
you know, it is hard to keep up with who has dated who in the
I
world of
know.
celebrities, so I don't fault you for that.
I
But
also just it doesn't. I never saw the connection. Like I just sort of never guessed those two together. Like
it's
I
definitely random. Like
yeah.
I wouldn't have expected that, but clearly it did not end well between them because he Shia has abuse allegations from her and other ex-girlfriends, and people are just disappointed in Olivia that basically she was willing to have this unsafe work environment just to have Shia on set, basically. And so that's a big thing people are talking about, this video that Shia released.
I think the challenge with Shia is like I'm 28. I've grown up with basically every era of Shia, like even Stevens, Holes to like his feature in I Robot, which was like I think his first like kind of adult feature role. Um, to like recent things like Peanut Butter Falcon, and like I or Disturbia. Like I grew up literally on every big movie of his. I've always loved him as an actor. Um, but every time I've seen him in the news for something, I'm just like, this guy cannot seem to figure his life out. And I just feel like there's so much stuff that's already kind of shown that he can be a little um, off-putting, if we should say, on set. So like,
Yeah,
I just feel like if you're gonna work with an actor like that, like you need to like get an okay from like the crew or something. I just like I don't know. I just can't imagine like throwing someone in who has like abuse claims and stuff or other things in their past, and then all of a sudden all these people are just like, oh, I guess I'm forced to work with him now because I signed a contract when they probably didn't even know he was going to be there before. Like I'm
yeah,
always curious how that stuff works.
yeah. It definitely seems like unfair and not the best choice on Olivia's part. And then, it's just like, and then she tried to spin it to make it seem like he was fired and that she did have a problem with him, but really initially she seemed to not have any problems with his past. So, which one
Which
is
would
it,
have been
Olivia?
believable. I think if the video didn't exist, everyone would have been like, "Oh yeah, Shia obviously did that. Like he clearly got fired. Like nobody would have second guessed that." I think that's
Yeah,
what makes the story like so interesting to me.
yeah. I feel like normally when you hear about celebrity drama like this, we don't usually get like the front row seat and like actually see the stuff. I feel like this is like a very messy situation.
I know. And then you have like even like little things with like even today I just had noticed like Shia released a movie in 2019 called Honey Boy, which was supposed to be kind of like a drama about like his relationship with his dad. And he just like admitted that he just like made up a bunch of parts to the story and was like, "Oh yeah, I had like a totally fine relationship with my dad." And I'm like, like I get like you're trying to drive like the story, but I'm like, how do you just say that like and release a
Yeah,
movie and do all this like press and stuff and then just like pretend that's fine? So it's like
yeah,
we're dealing with a lot of crazy stars this week. I feel like
seriously. Yeah.
and to like
Because,
what throw into more drama, like what we got
yeah,
other
Harry's in the
Olivia,
news again.
yeah.
We're talking about Harry again.
This is the
Um,
drama. This is the drama episode. We forgot to mention that.
yeah, so Harry just actually was the Rolling Stone magazine's first global cover star, and people have things to say about that, which I'm sure you can guess. But because people always have something to say. But on the cover, Rolling Stone called Harry the new king of pop, which some people think is just not like respectful, I guess, because I mean, Harry's insanely successful and talented, but he's still really early in his career. And, you know, do you think that label is fair for him?
I think it's just crazy. It's a crazy concept to think that he's still early in his career, which is true. But it's just like this dude's done so much, like since like since he was a kid. Like
Yeah,
this is what his third album as Harry Styles, and like I don't, how many albums is One Direction, and like how much was he performing before One Direction? Like this guy has just grown up as a performer, and I think it's always kind of crazy seeing like this type of character's life unfold throughout the years, because this is someone who was like born and raised as a superstar, and like
yeah,
we never really saw Harry Styles like before music.
yeah, yeah. It's so interesting because, I mean, I remember when One Direction first came on the scene, and I don't think I ever could have anticipated Harry being like the Harry that we know today. Like, it makes sense, now looking back, but I think 10 years ago, I would not think that Harry would be like the massive person that he is today because, now he's, you know, going into other ventures. Like, he has a beauty brand and, um, like we mentioned, um, some movies coming out, including another movie, My Policeman. And I don't know, do you want to talk about what he said about that?
Yeah. So what's interesting with My Policeman, this is a role where he's supposed to play. He plays a museum curator who falls for a police officer in the 50s, um, which was a time where being gay was criminalized, and uh, I thought it was a pretty surprising role. Like I feel like I guess we've seen movies where like straight or like people who are not really saying what they are playing as like a gay or queer role, but like I just think like if you're gonna do that, like you should just like be careful with what you say in the script or like in interviews. And he'd mentioned
Definitely.
this week, he said this was his thoughts about specifically about like a sex scene in the film. He said this is a gay story about these guys being gay. Okay, well, that's not a shocker there. It's about love and about wasted time to me. So much of a gay sex in film is two guys going at it, and it kind of removes the tenderness from it. And I thought that was such a weird comment because any movie, it's like almost every movie, I feel like at this point has like a sex scene or like an implied sex scene. And most people aren't just like, well, there was a 3 minute sex scene, so that's clearly like what the role of the film's about. And I think like I don't know if he was like necessarily trying to say anything negative. Like maybe he just like got caught in the moment of the press. Um, but either way, like I think it's a really strange comment to bring up, especially for like a film this big.
Yeah, I think it kind of just sort of illuminated Harry's seemingly um, lack of education when it comes to like queer movies. And I
Mhm.
mean, I personally don't have much experience watching queer cinema, but um, people are saying online that, Harry's quote is just not accurate. And it's like, if you're gonna be in this movie where you're portraying this person, um, you should try to educate yourself on the role at least, or if you're not going to, maybe don't make comments like that because he definitely did put his foot in his mouth, and it could have been avoided if maybe he didn't try to say anything. Like, he didn't have to
Yeah,
say anything about queer cinema.
I think he should have just like stayed silent on the matter. Like I think of my favorite queer film is Happy Together by Wong Kar Wai, and like this was a really really big film in the 90s, and um had a like understandably at the time, like because this is a Cantonese film, there was a lot of people's issues with like censorship, because it does like show like a pretty um it shows like a very uncensored sex scene between two men, but like that film I think maybe had like one sex scene the whole movie, and that was supposed to be like one of the most quote unquote like graphic films of the 90s. And I'm like, if Harry
Yeah.
Styles would have even just Googled like queer cinema, like I'm pretty sure that would have came up in like the top three movies. Like the movie was huge, especially in other countries. And I think that's maybe a point he's also missing, is it's like just because you don't know movies or like they're from other countries, like doesn't mean that um, it doesn't mean that you know everything about the subject. And I
Yeah.
think like I just think it's so strange to like jump into a film where you're playing as a gay man and to not like watch any films like similar to the movie you're like acting in.
Yeah. It just seems interesting for him to like make that statement when, I mean, it doesn't seem like people were asking like, "Oh, Harry, like why'd you take this role where you're playing a gay man?" Like I think like he didn't need to even put himself in this situation. Not I'm not trying to say he shouldn't have took the role, but like he didn't need to like make this comment. I don't think like he clearly just
Yeah,
doesn't know about
I totally agree.
it. Just seems
I
kind of silly and a lapse in judgment from him.
I think too, and like on top of that, like I feel like the brand of Harry Styles, whatever he is, um, it's like too. It's almost like there's too many cooks in the kitchen. It's like I think he needs to like either like slow it down and figure out like what he wants to do, or like get a smaller team or something. Like I feel like he's just doing too many things and catering to too many audiences. And it's like you can only cater to so many audiences before you like piss someone off, because they realize that you just like, even if he wanted to, like I feel like it's just impossible to be authentic to 400 different things.
Yeah,
And I think that's what he's kind of doing right now.
I totally agree. Like we're already seeing that with, you know, his movie Don't Worry Darling seemingly being just an utter train wreck. I mean, who knows? Maybe it'll be a great movie when it comes out, but I saw some comment online. Someone said at this point, I'd rather see a movie about the movie getting made rather than the actual movie itself because there's just so much drama.
Yeah, that's
And
like the Disaster Artist. If you ever saw that, it was like about the movie The Room being made, which like The Room is terrible and funny for different reasons, but like the movie about that movie is just so funny. So I'm like, get Seth Rogen, James Franco, let's direct this garbage behind the scenes film, and let's just throw that into
honestly,
theaters.
I think it needs to happen. That will be the next blockbuster movie of next summer.
I would be down for that. I feel like maybe, yeah, maybe one of the lessons here is like, if you don't know if you don't know who you are, or you don't know your audience, then just like take a breather and just slow down and figure it out. Like don't just roller coaster everything. Um,
Yeah,
because I imagine this isn't going to be the last time we're going to see him in the news with this kind of stuff. Because I feel like people are going to be like looking, they're going to be like watching him and waiting for him to slip on comments now. Like
yeah, I
it's going
think
to
so
happen.
too. Yeah, I think maybe he just needs to take some time off, maybe take a little vacation.
Harry, take a little vacation, and then Natalia and I can just like we'll just act in the rest of your movies for the year. It's fine. You can just give us those paychecks.
Yeah, I mean, Shia might not want to work with Miss Flo, but I'd love to work with you, Florence.
And I'll call you Mrs. Flo or whatever you want. Like it's all right. We'll give you whatever
Well, we'll
title you want to
call you
hear.
what you want to be called,
Yeah.
Florence.
Yeah, we'll call you what you want to be called, not whatever you want to hear. That sounds like just here for the paycheck, which is kind of true. Um, yeah, like I feel like that's it for episode 41. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to check out our other ones. Like, we've been really excited to be on this new format where we try to keep each episode around 30 to 40 minutes and talk about whatever excited topic we are talking about this week. So if you have anything you want to hear, drop it in the comments, or reach out to us on IG and Twitter if we're still using that. That's it. Peace out, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
The Bandwagon Fan Podcast is hosted by Josh Jimenez, Alex Melgosa, and me, AJ Soy. Our show is produced by Kate Smith and edited by your boy, AJ. Our social media is managed by Natalia and our theme song, Lush Waves, is provided to us by Taylor Lewin of _audio. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.